Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about toxic family, toxic households, just anything along those lines. This is more going to be for the people who you live with or are closest to, because I know a lot of times we have toxic friends, and those are definitely people who you should stay away from. You should stay away from anyone who is toxic or not adding anything beneficial to your life, but I'll leave that for a separate video. And today's we're going to focus more on family, I would say. I know a lot of times, this generation, if your parents or your family, your siblings don't see eye to eye with you, some people take it offensive. Some people are like, oh, my family is just so toxic. And some people just don't genuinely know what toxic is. Just because someone gives their opinion and it's different than yours does not mean that they're toxic, does not mean that you're living in a toxic household. Sometimes you need to take a step back and look at other people's shoes and be like, dang. A lot of times people who claim they have toxic households, they do not. And a lot of times the people who don't claim that they have a toxic household, they often do. You should definitely call it as it is. And if you have a toxic household, say something so that you can get the proper help and be removed from that situation. But I've heard so many people be like, oh, my mom is this or my dad is this. And even though I know I've been there too, for the most part though, I would never say that I have lived in a toxic household. So I'm going to start off by giving this one example. Before I get started though, please, if you guys could subscribe to my channel, we're on a road to 2K. Give this video a big thumbs up and go ahead and comment down below if you've ever felt like in an uncomfortable situation, or if you don't want to comment down below your personal situation, just go ahead and let me know how your day is going. When I was younger, I didn't have the mentality I have now. So obviously things that were being told to me, I didn't take it the way, let's say, I would take it now. So I've always struggled with my weight. And when I was younger, my mom would tell me, don't eat certain things, watch your weight. But as a kid, you don't see that that person is doing it because they love and they care about you and they don't want you to get sick. They don't want you to get diabetes. They don't want you to encounter these other problems that essentially you eating a lot or eating a lot of sugar and stuff is going to cause you. You just see it as, she doesn't like me, that's why she's telling me that I can't eat this, or I'm not good enough for her because I'm a little chunkier than the other kids. That's how you see it when you're a kid, because you don't understand. You don't understand what is diabetes. You don't understand your sugar levels being too high. You see everyone else eating chocolate and you just want to eat chocolate too. So that was kind of like the position I was in. So I created a few encounters with my mom where, me and her would disagree, because I would be like, just feeling a certain type of way because every other kid could have certain things that, let's say, I couldn't, and I didn't understand why, because I always felt like I was a good daughter and a good, person. As I grew older, I realized that it was because she loved and cared about me so much that she would always tell me those things. And even though I feel like the situations could have been handled a little differently, instead of like taking away, let's say, certain foods, maybe just find like a replacement food, I understand and am appreciative of her effort into trying for me to stay away from certain things. But that does not mean that my mom is toxic. So, for example, I'll give another example. My friend, for example, is with this one guy who is no good for her. I mean, he's on the verge of me being like, he is just trash. I feel like the biggest factor in a relationship, number one, should be respect. That's just how I carry myself. I mean, some people say it should be, building and growth. Other people say it should be love. Other people say it should be money. Like, everyone just has different, means for it. Mine is respect and loyalty. So he definitely doesn't have any respect for this girl or loyalty towards her, okay? I mean, he has like a little bit of respect in the sense of like, hi, how are you? But definitely not relationship respect. I mean, he does whatever he wants. He doesn't include her in certain things, makes her feel bad, and definitely just does whatever he wants, okay? And that's not okay in a relationship. In a relationship, there's certain things that you should be talking to your partner about and certain things that you should be doing with your partner. When you're kind of like avoiding your partner but just having them hang around there, telling them you love them one day and that you don't the other day, that is toxic. So just like I said, I'm going to do a separate video about toxic friends. I'm going to do a separate one on toxic relationships. But if your parent or sibling is telling you to get away from that, for example, the girl says that, oh, it's because my brother is toxic and my mom is toxic. That is not toxic. They're telling you to stay away from this kid because he is bad news. Like, not that he's bad news in the sense where like he's robbing a bank, but he's bad news as in the sense that he's no good for you. He's bringing you down, and you're blaming everyone around you, calling everyone around you toxic, when the first person who's toxic is yourself and the second one is him. But you allow him to be toxic around you because you allow the energy around you. So if you got toxic energy, check yourself and move. Let that be an eye-opener and move. Change your direction, okay? So I feel like that's the first topic I should cover before I get into the real pointers, because a lot of times, if that is your case scenario, if you're just going through something and you just want people to see eye to eye with you and they don't, because they genuinely love and care about you and they want you to move a little bit different for your own good, that does not mean that they're toxic. A lot of times you need to check yourself. Make sure you're not toxic, and I'll do a video about that as well. Make sure you're not toxic. Make sure the people you're around aren't toxic before you call anyone else toxic. Usually your family are going to be the people who love and care about you the most. And I know there's special case scenarios where sometimes, your family doesn't, but those are extreme measures. And if that is your case scenario, call and seek professional help. Be removed from that situation. But if you're like, no, I don't want to be removed, it's just I'm mad at my mom because she doesn't like my boyfriend or my girlfriend, that doesn't mean that they're toxic, okay? Now, if you've been through like a divorce or a separation from family, if you're no longer living with a certain member, truly just anything that has, truly just like anyone who has been taken away from you, first thing that you have to see, I would strongly suggest this, especially like in divorces and stuff, if two people are fighting and it doesn't necessarily involve you, don't involve yourself. And everything I'm talking to you guys about, I kind of like already went through or already did. And I still kind of like suffer a little bit with the pain today. I wouldn't say I'm 100% recovered yet, but I'm on my way because I take a lot of these tips. Sometimes I forget them. Not that I forget them, but I don't have them present in my brain. I just kind of like throw them to the back of my brain and proceed on however I want. I sit here and I cry, and that's part of like why I wanted to do this video, is because sometimes when I'm sitting here sad, I should probably listen to myself, because I know my mindset is in the right space, but sometimes I just don't want to listen to my thoughts and I just want to sit here and be sad. So the first tip I could give you is that if two people got one problem, let them have that problem and you stay out of it, because if they had a problem with you, they would address it with you. Don't go trying to find trouble. Don't go trying to find what was said, this and that. If it wasn't said to you, just don't think like it was said. And I know everyone handles it differently, and it can be, annoying to hear that, oh, someone was talking about you and now you want to know what's up and this and that. Leave it alone, okay? Tip number 2, don't take anyone's side. Mom, dad, your siblings, don't take anyone's side. I have 3 siblings, so it's not even like, oh, I only have a brother, or oh, I only have a sister. So, I mean, there's no side to take. Me and that person are just best friends. No, I have sides, because sometimes one sibling is fighting with the other sibling and I'm like caught right in the middle, like, So one thing you don't want to do is to take sides. You just want to play it mutual. Like, oh, I understand both of your points. I really just don't want to get involved. And if you truly feel like you want to say something, then go ahead and say it. Don't ever stay quiet. Always voice your opinion. And if you genuinely feel like you need to get something off your chest, or you heard so-and-so talking about you and you want to go say something to your mom or your dad, I encourage you to speak up. But for the most part, if there is nothing involving you, then don't try to involve yourself. Unless, like I said, it's something where you're like, no, I need to go say something. Next tip would be to do what's best for you. No one is going to do what's best for you better than yourself. Why? Because everyone is a little bit selfish in this world. Why? Because you just have to be. No one's going to want better for you than yourself. A lot of times, kids suffer in divorces, but parents still divorce. Parents try sometimes to stay together for the kids, but it doesn't always work out. So you need to do what's best for you, because no one's going to do what's best for you. What's best for you is probably for your parents to stay together in certain case scenarios. And look, sometimes it doesn't really happen. Sometimes they end up separating, even though the best thing for you would have been for them to stay together, but for them it was to separate. So in this world, sometimes you have to be a little bit selfish for yourself. That doesn't mean that you don't give back to the community. You could be selfish with yourself and every weekend be giving food or something to the less fortunate. You're giving clothes, giving accessories, whatever it is that fills your heart, you can still be doing that. But when it comes to your own personal decisions, you do have to be a little selfish. And I mean that in the sense of like, if you go to the grocery store, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, no, I'm just not going to buy any food. I'm only going to buy this little can right here because I want to make sure everyone in the world has enough food to eat. You know, I'm not saying to not be thoughtful. I'm a very caring person too. I'm very compassionate with my surroundings and the people around me and everything. But you have to do what's best for you, and that's on period. So make sure though that even though you're hurting and even though you don't know what's going on, sometimes not everyone knows the full story. Sometimes people are just confused. They don't know how to feel. Do what's best for you. Don't let no one brainwash you into thinking a certain type of way. If no action was done towards you, no one has spoken anything directly to you, just carry on like things are normal. Or if you need to speak to someone, which in my case scenario, I'm a very like vocal person, I need to talk certain things out. So if you need to ask any questions, just ask them. If you need to speak, just speak, and keep going about your day and about your life and do what's best for you. If you feel like going a weekend to your friend's house, go. Don't be like, oh, I think my parent is sad, so let me just stay for the weekend. No, do what's best for you. I mean, obviously you're going to be there for your parents or your siblings or whoever it is that's hurting, whoever it is that, doesn't feel good. But ultimately, you have to also find your happiness. Because a lot of times people will find their happiness and then leave you, and you're stuck like, dang, like I let my happiness go to see this person happy, but as soon as they had a shot to find happiness, they left me to sit here without mine. So find your happiness and do what's best for you. And don't get involved in stuff that doesn't involve you. Speak up if you feel like speaking up. And speak up for what's right. Not just because, oh, I just feel like saying this, screw you. Like, no, speak for what's right and with respect. Because as long as you give respect, you usually get respect. Now, if someone's disrespecting you, I know like there's certain cases where things are a little different. People will disrespect you. People are like, parents don't want to tell you what's going on. Siblings just don't want to involve you. Siblings get mad at you for not picking a side. I know there's cases like that. But you can't really go wrong for just ignoring it a little bit and telling them that you don't want to get involved because it's going to cause more drama. Because a lot of times people don't know how much drama a bad divorce or someone leaving can actually be. So make sure you just kind of like move on with it. You have to understand, like I said, that you are your own priority. You have to keep yourself busy. Don't be thinking about the negative stuff that's going on at home or what's going on in your head or things that are stressing you out. Keep yourself busy so you're not thinking about that and work towards a better future. Always take your L's as not a loss, but like as a lesson. So for example, I know a lot of girls tell me, oh, my mom wasn't good to my dad, or oh, my dad left, or something like that. Instead of sitting here and mourning that, learn from it and be like, I don't want to be like her, or I don't want to be like him, or I don't want to find a guy like him, or I don't want to find a girl like her. Think of how you're going to make it better. Take what you're physically seeing, and instead of, let's say, learning how to do that, learn in the sense of what you don't want to do. If you have a bad example, if you're like, bro, my mom was not a good wife, or my dad left me, learn from that and be like, I want to do the opposite of what this person did so that I could be a good husband, or I can be a good mom, or I can be whatever it is that you strive to be. Learn from these mistakes. Learn from these people leaving. Learn that life is too short and that there's people dying. So accept people for who they are, and that's it. If you are upset at your parent because whatever reason it is, I mean, I know sometimes there are extreme measures. I know sometimes it's been 10 years and certain kids haven't talked and they don't plan to talk to their parent. There are case scenarios where they do plan to talk to their parents, or maybe not plan it, but they end up eventually talking to their parent. And there's some case scenarios where it's been like 4, 5, 6 months and the child is iffy about talking to their parent. And just remember, though, that anything can happen. Life is so short, and in the generation that we're living, anything can happen. So if something happens to that person, tomorrow, would you be okay with the decision that you made of not talking to that person or treating the person however it is that you treat them? And if you do decide to not talk to someone, it doesn't mean that you treat them wrong. You can remove yourself from a situation you're uncomfortable with, but you don't have to put your hands on anybody or result in any type of violence, okay? Now, I know it's easier said than done. I know it takes a lot of time and practice and effort and meditation, and personally me, I believe in God, so it took me a lot of praying. I ordered a lot of books on Amazon and I would read them, and I would read a lot of like sticky notes that taught me how to love myself, because it got to the point where I just felt like my surroundings weren't very lovable, and me myself, I wasn't really loving myself the way I should. And I learned and put effort into fixing that, and thankfully I did fix that. And now I'm trying to fix some other things that personally I want to fix with, people around me. So it's definitely up to you, and I would just honestly leave it at that. It's up to you, because you have two choices in life. When things go bad for you, you get really, really upset, and that anger can turn you into this monster that you don't even want to be, but you just are so upset, and you're trying to call the attention, and you're trying to do these things so that people can notice you, and you can prove a point and prove that you're big and bad and that nobody should have messed with you in the first place. Or you can turn into something amazing and fly like a butterfly and bloom into this beautiful flower. I read this one quote one time, and it was about this one dad who was like a drug dealer, didn't do the best things, carried a bad life, and he had two sons. And one of his sons was on the street near the garbage, a basic bum. And someone came up to him and said, "Why are you like that? Like, why did you choose this life?" And his answer was, "My dad was a drug dealer." Because a lot of times people excuse kids who do bad things because they come from a bad past. The guy said okay and left him alone in the garbage to continue doing his normal activities, I guess, that bums do. And bum in reference to what he actually called himself. He said, "I'm a bum." Okay, that's not me trying to call him that or be funny or anything. Then the other son was this big fancy lawyer, making a lot of money, living a successful life. And someone said, "Why did you choose this life? Why are you in the shoes that you're in?" And he said, "Because my dad was a drug dealer." So that shows you right there that you have two paths. Paths. Is that how you say it? That you have two paths to go, or two like roadways to go. You can choose one that will lead you into a successful life, making money, having a family, doing better in life. Or you can have the other path, which is probably not the best path, because you are full of so much hurt. And no one or no amount of psychologists or psychiatrists or anyone is going to take you out of that hurt except yourself. But it shows you, between those two brothers, the successful one saw his dad being a drug dealer, living this miserable life, not being able to provide for his kids, and he's learned from it. He took that L and learned and decided to do the opposite with his life. He said, "I don't want to become a drug dealer like my dad. I don't want to be a bum on the street. So I'm going to do everything in my power to change that." And so he did, and he was successful. And the other one lived with that hurt, never forgave, carried that hurt along with him, and he never was able to move forward with his life. And they both came from the same dad. So it was definitely capable and attainable, but it's just your choice. If you're going to allow yourself to move on and get better, or if you're just going to sink in the hole that they dug up for you, basically. You don't want to do that. Don't let anyone get under your skin, because you have such a bright future ahead of you. And in case you don't believe it, I believe it for you, and I will manifest it for you. I love all my subscribers. YouTube took me out of a very dark hole. So I know some of you guys don't know my personal story, but I come also from a sad story. Everyone has a sad story. And one of my biggest ways out of some of the stuff I was dealing with was my YouTube. And I'm not just talking about, oh, I was dealing with certain things like just sitting around and being sad and depressed. And no, it was like bad, like, you know, stuff that I'll open up about it in another video. But YouTube, I always say like YouTube saved me, because it made me put my time and effort into this, which is nothing bad, rather than this other stuff that I could have been doing if I wasn't doing YouTube. So find your passion, find whatever it is. For example, when Khloe Kardashian got cheated on, she put all her time and effort in the gym, and now look at her banging body. Do something that's beneficial for you. You're going to be okay. You are loved, you are valued. So don't ever think negative thoughts just because you have negative energy around you. Sometimes you can't control all the energy around you, especially if you're younger and you live with someone else who maybe doesn't have all that good energy. But you gotta plan. You gotta have a plan. You gotta work for it. Work for all of it, because it will pay off. Hard work does pay off. I'm living proof, y'all. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a super lucky person. I've been blessed for everything I've had because I've worked really hard for it. And I've been able to accomplish a lot. So I'm telling you guys, you got this. I believe and I love you. And like always, comment down below if any type of like concern, or if you want to tell your story, or if you want to share something. I'm all ears for you guys. Okay, I'm all ears. I love to hear it. And with that being said, I'm going to conclude today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for supporting and loving me back, because I'd be seeing y'all's comments and it makes my day. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.